And we're back with the action here, back with Webbo at the Australian Grand Prix for Division 2 of FTR's Season 9 Round 2. Apologies for the difficulties we experienced there. You'll be more than familiar with it. Hashim holds on to the fastest time so far as it's Midas is going for his next lap, I believe. Let's join him on board. No, just an outlap for Midas. What about Nick Gishin? He is currently heading through a 26.8 is a good time for the start of his flying lap here. About to cross the line for Sector 2, 44.6. Hasn't set a time yet, of course. Oh, understeer through turn 10, but holds on to the car, and he's not happy. He got an invalidation quite late. Notification of that invalidation, in fact. Stoffel next. We've got Shakes on the track, perhaps. Is he? He is, going slowly at the moment, Shakes. Obviously bailed this lap as well. This track is really tripping up the drivers today. It's tough to find a driver who's managing to string a lap together. Stoffel then rides the exit curb out of turn 11 through turn 12. He may get a bit of a tow from the car in front down the main straight, but he needs to avoid that dirty air through the final corner. Smirch Django has retired from the session. I think he's happy with that lap as 118.291 as Shakes has slipped in onto the provisional front row at 118.275, and Stoffel remains on in sixth place at 118.953. Let's go down to our two fastest drivers though, who are going to be trading sector times. It's Midas with just a few minutes left to go of this Q3 session. Well, not even a few minutes, just under 1 minute to go at 27.0 is relatively slow for It's Midas in the first sector. He's going to have to pull it all out of the bag in the second two sectors. Nick Gishin's time is just a 1/10 faster than It's Midas through that corner, through that sector, as It's Midas for the next sector, 44.892. This isn't setting the world alight from It's Midas. It's going to have to be a very special final sector as Nick Gishin has navigated, held on to that 1/10 advantage over the main rival here tonight, It's Midas. Hashim will be watching on though. He's on an outlap. He's about to cross the line before the checkered flag will fall. It's Midas trying to run the right kind of balance between risk and reward, and it's all gone wrong for It's Midas. There won't be a time set by It's Midas in the session, so he will be starting at the back of the top 10 as Nick Gishin manages to hang on. He'll lick his lips with the prospects of It's Midas there, and Nick Gishin gets a 118.236 as Hashim doesn't need to defend his pole position. He's invalidated already. Wow. Drama right at the death of the session. It's Midas will start from 9th position. Absolute shocker for It's Midas, given his early session pace, and Avalak is not on a lap right now either. Heads on into the pits. The Ferrari of Pampern has already taken the checkered flag, so it will be Hashim in the McLaren, continuing the run of form for McLaren in the absence of Uzi so far tonight. Hashim on pole position of 118.082 from Nick Gishin on 118.236, and Shakes tantalisingly close to that front row on a 118.275. McLaren though leading the way here in the first couple of races of Division 2's season. Let's see if that translates. Let's have your predictions during the formation lap. Your predictions for the podium finish and the correct order, if you would. There is Hashim heading into the pits then, and that is the end of our Q3 session. I think we'll get some more drivers joining us. I did see at least 02, maybe some more joined during my most recent outage, but that is your start order at least. We'll try and find you something better to look at down the pit lane. Here we go. F1 Marshall says Shakes for the win. So from third position on the grid, he's given up a little bit of time in qualifying, but maybe he has a race strategy set up better. And Royal Viking says, let's go Brad, and cheering on his teammate. Of course, Viking will be rejoining us. Anu will be rejoining us, but Hashim took the plaudits there for a 118.082. We didn't get a 117 that I'd hoped for in Q3. Nick Gishin in second, Shakes in third. Then comes Smertz, Avalak, Brad, Stoffel, Pampern, and Midas. Royal Viking, if memory serves correctly, Royal Viking will be starting from 10th place, and then we will have the rest of the drivers, of course, as they left us. Hamza is apologising to Django. And F1 Marshall says Avadak for a DNF. I didn't ask for DNF predictions, but you can predict, and especially not our league owner. But you can go ahead and predict the first penalty as well. But yeah, give me your podium predictions first of all, and if you like, you can tell me what lap you think certain people will retire. Hopefully, we'll get through with fewer safety car incidents than we had last week as well. Or if we do get safety car, that my disconnections will time with the safety car, as one of them did last week there. But we're getting ready to be underway for the Australian Grand Prix very shortly. Bright sunshine, as you would normally expect in Albert Park. Evening light. We do get sort of a sunset effect down at the in the southern hemisphere there. But usually that is making the drivers squint as they head towards turn 5 and where else? I guess roughly turns 1 and 2, but not really. It tends to be turn 5 where they are suffering most, and maybe 13. But there's usually enough buildings in the way for turns 1, 2 and 13 to be a problem. I'm trusting that the stream is still live. I think it is. Mine just has discoed for a second there, my copy. But away from the starting line they go. Hashim leading them away, and we have a 16 car field for you, which is great to see. In terms of tyre selection, it's mediums the majority of the guys have chosen mediums tonight. Outliers, Smerts, Pampern and AP Marg have gone for the hard tyre, with Super D at the back choosing soft tyres. Very interesting strategy there. Look for Smerts and Pampern and AP Marg to be struggling to defend their positions away from the start on the hard tyres, unless they've really aced their tyre preparation. But hopefully they will see that through quite straightforward. So Super D making it 2 lots of Aston Martin cars, 2 Ferraris, of course. 02 started 15th, Pampern 8th. Kichui Levy will be racing alongside Shakes in the pit box, but the other end of the starting grid. 14th for him, Shakes in 3rd. AP Marg, I'll be expecting AP Marg to move forward, as his pace usually is sufficient to bring him forward. Botta in 12th in the Mercedes, has his teammate Midas, one of the fastest drivers out there tonight, starting down in P9. There is Chums in 11th. Royal Viking in the Alpine, currently ghosted, just checking some settings or taking a drink. And of course I've been through the top 10 enough times. We'll be underway for you very shortly. Royal Viking says Brad and Brad. Well, that is not a valid entry. I'm going to refuse that entry when it comes to the prediction championship, or predictions kudos awards at the end of the session. But 29 laps around the Australian Albert Park circuit in Melbourne await us. Look for around half distance to see the pit stops from medium to hard, maybe a shade later than half distance for hard to medium, and then the soft tyres. Anyone's guess, quite frankly. Depends how Super D's first few laps progress here. Trying to get you a decent camera angle, but the camera angles have really gotten broken recently on the game. Really not coming through for us very well. I trust it will be there for us shortly. But here are the red lights. It's time to go racing as the revs build, and it's time to drop the clutch and go away from the line. Shakes and Nick Gishen, I do apologise for these camera angles, as it looks like Nick Gishen challenging the McLaren on the inside. Lots of cars heading to the grass on the apex of turn 2. That has cost Brad some progress, as Nick Gishen has is under threat. Coming around the outside is Hashim. Runs around the outside, might try and sneak it up the inside, but he doesn't quite make it. Hashim losing 1 place early doors. Avalak down in 11 places into 16th. Brad in down 9 into 15th. That's the early part of the lap underway then, as they head towards turn 5. And turn 6 and 7, I should say, line astern as they were, but some big movements there in the order. Not least Stoffel up 4, Midas up 4, Botta up 5, but it's going to take some getting used to all of this topsy-turvy grid order at this stage. Hashim with the pace in qualifying, and Q3 at least, but Nick Gishen right on the pace early doors. The two of them already 1.3 and 1.6 seconds away from third place Stoffel, as things stand, who has himself gained a bunch of places. As we round out the end of lap 1, Hashim staying with Nick Gishen. Hashim under that crucial 1 second window, but Nick Gishen it is that leads lap 1. Shooting off his grid slot like a scolded caddy was, as they head down then towards turn 1 for the second time of asking tonight. No one making huge inroads on the way into turn 1 currently, and Shakes and Avalak have really dropped off the back of the field. Here is Shakes coming in for a new front wing and a change of strategy, I fancy, and that is plan B very much for Shakes. He's switched himself onto the hard tyres early doors, but I don't think he's going to be able to get those all the way to the end. He'll be hoping for a late race safety car. Nick Gishen has lit the touch paper and gapped Hashim massively while we were heading through the grid there, the first sector of the second lap. Here is It's Midas up 5 places to 4th place currently, and chasing down Smerts. It looks like, was that Stoffel who's had an issue? He's dropped 2 places in the previous lap as well. So Stoffel really struggling here. With Stoffel, he's on the medium tyres, so that I can't really blame that one. Pampern on the hards is hassling Stoffel here and trying to sneak up the inside, going on into turn 11, and there wasn't quite enough room for those particular driving lines. Contact made at the early part of the lap, risking both drivers' races, of course, that contact under the low grip conditions. And well, I would imagine Pampern feeling a little bit aggrieved by that one. Early fastest lap of 1:22.0 goes to Nick Gishen, our race leader. DRS is enabled, not yet though for this pair, but they will get that allocation next time they go out of turn 10. It's Midas not willing to wait as he puts himself in the risky outside position here, gives plenty of space on the inside, and Smerts manages to thread that one through very nicely indeed. Just no dramas, while being slightly offline on the acceleration zone on the way out, and these two playing very nicely at this stage. Smerts third, It's Midas fourth, down, and Botta, Mercedes have incredible, up to 4th and 5th. Botta now in 5th place, 2.7 seconds away from these two, as It's Midas deploying some electrical energy here to get himself his nose ahead before the detection point for the next DRS, and into turns 9 and 10. He might be vulnerable through the next corner. I wonder though, did Smerts decide to let that one go just so he'd have the DRS? It didn't work. If he did do that, Kachui Levy has got ahead of Botta and is slotted himself between the Mercedes, and Super D will go too, because Botta having a very compromised understeery car through turn 11. Pretty sure we saw that in qualifying from the Mercedes driver as well, struggling to stop the car. Might still be trying to navigate that corner as if it were unmodified from the previous iteration of the game. Nick Gishen first, Hashim second, 1.9 seconds away now, with It's Midas in third, Smerch Django in fourth, Kachui Levy, Super D, Botta, Chums. 0-2 gets Chums because Chums has gone wide, very wide indeed, slips outside of the top 10 and allows through both not only 0-2 but also Brad, Pampern, and Avalak up from the back is now up to 11th after dramas on these early few laps. Now the DRS is enabled, and Avalak has caught tremendously the field after the early first lap drama that he suffered. Smerch Django on the back of It's Midas, being gapped at the moment, but maybe it's Super D on the ascendancy, the closest driver to the one in front here, down to just, well, no, 8 tenths. 0-2 is actually 6 tenths away from Botta, but Super D up from the very back of the grid on the soft tyres. He'll be trying to eke these softs out to run a soft, hard one-stopper, I imagine. unless he's feeling particularly racy or the opportunity presents itself for a safety car, for instance. And I'll have a look now. We'll have a look now for at the live chat as Royal Viking says load shedding has caught him out, I think, and Viking is watching. He's using battery power to watch with us, and that was Gachui Levy just trying to break the toe here of the Aston Martin behind. And Nick Gishin has an off. Nick Gishin, not for the first time even this season, but over the past 2 seasons, some inconsistent pace from Nick Gishin. The medium tyres should be well in their operating window, but he's lost his position to Hashim, lost nearly 5 seconds to what he had previously. He's just trying to feel the grip under the car, warm the tyres, back up again, steps out onto the grass. That's very risky, taking that wide line on the way into turns 6 and 7 as we get our first penalty on the board. That is for 0-2, who has picked up a 3-second penalty. Easily done around here. The painted lines welcoming the drivers to try and explore the limits. It's Midas is caught right up then on Nick Gishin, and we've got these two in vying for the podium positions as we perhaps predicted that they would be going through Q1 and 2. But Q3 it didn't work out well for It's Midas. He finds himself though now already on the back of another season favourite, Nick Gishin, who just needs to settle down now as they finish out the end of lap 5. Nick Gishin feels the need to drive defensively down the start-finish straight, but It's Midas will pocket that little bit of DRS. He'll pocket that little bit of slipstream as well. Gets another bash of DRS here as the two of them are bringing themselves forward onto Hashim. I thought Hashim was temporarily ghosted there. Was he? Or no, I don't think so. We'll keep a close eye on these two, as we may well end up with a 3-way battle for the lead. Super D is dropping down the order, and he's back down to 11th place, and that's not a pit stop. That is a difficulty. There is a pit stop underway. That is Brad pitting for hard tyres early into the race now. So Hashim, Nick Gishin, It's Midas separated by less than 2 seconds in total. It's Midas though on the ascendancy as things stand, looking for a mistake from Nick Gishin to try and gain that little bit of progress, but he won't be too unhappy being able to run in the DRS and at the front of the field. He's got a 2.3 second gap behind to Smirch Django. The top 3 a little bit on their own in terms of pace tonight, but hopefully they will give us a good and entertaining battle to the end of the race. It's the end of lap 6, start of lap 7 of 29. Still a little way to go before the first pit stops. It's Smertz who's holding on those hard tyres as well, hoping to go long and go on the overcut. But that is an Alpha Tauri just getting out of the way of the other drivers. That looks like Shakes having just making sure he gets out of the way while being lapped potentially. So Shakes, it's not working out all that well for him. But and we've got a slow car on the field as well. That looks like a Ferrari towards the back of the mid-pack. Probably Pampern there struggling as well. Let's head down and see if he's able to get back under racing pace. He is. Just following now Avalak in 8th place, who's already had a topsy-turvy night as he did last race as well. Hashim first, Nick Gishin 1.1 seconds behind in second, is being followed closely 3/4 of a second behind by It's Midas, then a gap to Smertz in 4th. Gachui Levy performing very well indeed in 5th. 0-2, despite not taking part in qualifying, is in 6th place. Botta is in 7th, Avalak 8th, Pampern 9th, and Chums in 10th place. Let's head back up towards that battle for the podium though. It's Midas biding his time at the moment on those medium tyres. They'll be on the same strategy, these top 3 drivers. Nick Gishin goes defensive once again, and It's Midas gets down to within about 0.4 of a second, but you really do need to be in the kind of 2.5 tenths range coming out of the final corner to really be able to pounce even as late as into turn 3 on the circuit here. There is a better run heading into turn 9 if you can manage to get the slipstream. Let's ride with its Midas, see how the car is feeling as Brad picks up the second penalty of the evening, and Shakes is in the pits as well. Is he retiring perhaps? Well, certainly it hasn't registered if he is. Takachiri Levy, third penalty, a 3-second time penalty goes to Takachiri Levy, and that's important because he's in 5th place at the moment. However, the car behind him is also on a penalty. That is its Midas just getting a little bit flirty with danger going over turn 9 apex curb. Needs to be careful of that one. There is Brad retiring, unfortunately. Brad has retired from the session, but on track, so I think we'll be okay. But as far as safety car is concerned, both cars still moving. So that looks like that AlphaTauri has gone into ghost mode. Its Midas looking a little bit slow out of turn 14, the final corner, as Hashim has got a ghosted car in front of him. Now, it really does, it is much better for the drivers if the ghosted cars at the back of the field manage to get out of the way. But it looks like that was Brad's Alpine that has now officially retired from the race, but on track. I don't know if that was a voluntary retirement or a disconnection. Usually they just disappear on us if it's a disco, but rather than a retirement, gives them a chance to get back into the race. Let's go down to P6 and 7. Avalak chasing Botta here, 0.3 of a second between the two of them. I'll be looking for laps 14 to 20 for the bulk of our pit stops tonight. Even if that is hard to medium, I think the drivers will be wanting to get onto those mediums as quickly as possible. Keeping an eye on the battle for the podium. It's Midas carving 0.2 out of Nick Gishin on that sector, that last sector alone. Keep an eye though on a closer battle at the moment. Avalak chasing Botta. Botta, a long-standing driver here at FTR. Here is Avalak. I'm assuming this is DRS deployed, goes into turn 11. This is one of the weakest points on the track for Botta tonight. Avalak leaves plenty of room on the outside and claims that place with authority. Moving forward then, that is Midas now 0.6 of a second behind Nick Gishin, just gaining a little with the DRS. Got a second bout of DRS here, but only gets within half a second as they head into turn 3. So no attempt at an overtake at this stage. The top 3 still just, 2.3 seconds between the top 3. Hashim is holding on. I don't know if he's managing that gap just over a second, because that means that not only does he not give up DRS behind him, but the car behind isn't gaining a lot in terms of fuel economy on his having to be the lead car. At that kind of gap, it's not really helping Nick Gishin as much as it is hurting him in the dirty air. So we will see if fuel comes into play later on. There's nothing the drivers can do with their switches or engine settings in terms of fuel, but they can lift and coast, or they can accelerate right to the very moment of braking, just to use or not use their fuel as it suits them. Brad there is a full DNF for them for Brad. He is out, and it's Midas. Oh, he did that in Q3, which is why he started P9, and he's just lost grip coming through the final corner. That means Smirch Django on the hard tyres, now into 3rd place. Great progress from him so far, but he is 5 seconds away from Nick Gishin in 2nd, and a further 1.8 seconds behind the leader. But he will be able to go those couple of extra laps long. Chantel says go Midas. That was poorly timed, Chantel. I'm sure that it just crossed over between you writing that message and him making a mistake. So it's Midas back down again. So that is 1 mistake each for Nick and Midas. I think it's cost Midas slightly less than it has Nick. That's 1 mistake each in the race I'm referring to, of course, not in the entire evening of driving. Midas making an almost identical error in his qualifying 3 final attempt. He's trying to pounce back as quickly as possible here, but he may rue those 5 seconds that he's lost out to Nick Gishin. Takes all the pressure off Nick, of course, and it means he can just focus forward on the driver in front, the leader, Hashim, on lap 11. We are 1/3 distance of the race so far. waiting for those first pit stops. No safety car just yet, and we have 15 runners of the 16 starters, despite the fact that we only actually started qualifying with 13 cars. We have had some late comers who couldn't make qualifying due to the power situation in South Africa, which I'm sure many of our listeners will be familiar with. Let's go down to the bottom of the top 10 while we wait for Midas to bring himself forward, because Gachiwi on new hard tyres is chasing down Chums. He has got a penalty on the car. Here is Gachiwi, then tucks himself up. He's going to strike while the iron's hot, while he's got that overspeed going into turn 1 and 2. He should, I think, get a second batch of DRS just to help him stretch away down into turn 3. Indeed he does, and he'll be now focused on the back of that Ferrari in front of Pampern in P8. Gachiwi moving forward after a pit stop there, and he's now on the hard tyres. That was our closest battle for a moment there. Midas just struggling a little bit, perhaps using the bulk of the grip of this stint of his medium tyres. The medium to hard tyre pit window will be open now, but the pace difference between the medium and hard tyre is generally so great that it's not worth being on those hard tyres any longer than you have to be, which is why you see the hard tyre runners pitting around half distance. If the medium tyres can make half distance, they'll be pitting. Well, there goes a pit stop for Nick Gishin. The window is open, as I said. Nick Gishin trying to anticipate, and we've got a Red Bull having problems. That's Avalak's second major problem of the night. Avalak slipping up off the circuit for a few moments there, and he's down to 9th place. So Nick Gishin looking for his outlap. Maybe that was one lap too many for Avalak, in fact. And there is another pit stop as well for Botha currently. Nick Gishin in 5th. Will he be passed by Pampern? He will not. He's out of the pits already in 5th place then, and he'll be looking at that gap to leader. Let's have a look then. That is 20.1 seconds to the leader. That was a very quick pit stop for Nick Gishin and in lap. Let's see if he can build the pace, build the temperature in these hard tyres on the outlap, and hold off any stretching away that Hashim might do. I would imagine now Hashim decides to pit at the end of this lap in defence of his first place and in defence of that undercut. 20.8, 20.9, the gap is opening to Nick Gishin, so Hashim might be able to track that, but I think his information on his screen and his engineer, it will be limited. Let's have a look. Will Hashim decide to defend that position? Yes, indeed, goes into the pits, needs to navigate that pit stop speed limit down to 80 kph. And he's on the pit limiter already. So it will be a battle then between Nick Gishin on the way out. That gap has opened up to 21.1. So Hashim drops down. Smerts will be a while before he decides to pit. I think he'll try and get into the lap 20 kind of range as another driver comes into the pits. That looks like 0-2. So Nick Gishin then heading then towards the first corner, but he will have just seen a flash of papaya orange. Hashim has actually opened that gap to Nick Gishin as a result of the overcut and defending that one. So Nick Gishin still plenty to do here, but he has picked up a penalty on the car. So that's very, very important for later on. Nick Gishin in 3rd place, and also Midas will be hoping to gain from that. Pampern and Midas trading places here, and up the inside tries to come Gachiwi Leby on the hard tyres as well. Midas trying to get some temperature. Gachiwi Leby has got all the temperature he needs. He's 5 laps deep into this stint. He'll be hoping to pounce on a mistake from Midas, but Midas just about hanging on. Gachiwi Leby timing his run through turn 7 beautifully as they head up through turns 8 and the fastest point of the circuit on the approach to turn 9 on the left. Anyway through, not quite for Gachiwi Leby, but only 0.3 of a second. He'll get better traction coming out of the next corner. He's got a decent run, but he's stuck in a DRS train behind Midas, who's thankfully for him managed to pick up that DRS on the Ferrari of Pampern in front. A three-way battle for P4 with Smerts yet to pit still. And we'll see if he is able to open that gap. He'll obviously have good, quick tyres at the end of the stint as well. And positions 4, 5, 6, Pampern, Midas and Gachiwi Leby come out of the final corner, separated by less than a second between all three. It's Midas biding his time. Will he try to get the sufficient speed coming out of turn 2? Oh, a little step again from Midas, struggling on end of corner traction here. And that really stole the momentum that he'd gathered coming through turns 1 and 2. Just a little kick of the merest hint of oversteer meant that he had a code brown in the cockpit at that point, and managed to solidify his position but not strike at this point. Gap to leader for Pampern, 20.8. That wasn't sufficient for Nick Gishin versus Hashim. Smert's still going pretty quickly. We'll look at those gaps. Gap to leader at the moment, see where he will come out. It's lap 15. We're just over half distance. Fastest lap for Super D on fresh medium tyres. Now he's asking a big ask for the medium tyres. Down into turn 11, tries Midas. He was up the inside, but his front wheel tagged the rear wheel of Pampern, who closed the door quite decisively there. Midas was perhaps not quite sufficiently alongside at my first view, but if you've got a different view of that, do let me know. It looked slightly speculative. It looked like it was coming all day long, but Pampern's corner, as he had the lead going in, Midas drops back yet again, several seconds from the lead. Nick Gishin is now within that pit stop window of Smertz, but remember, penalty on the car, and Smertz will be on the quicker medium tyre at the end of the race. He's hoping for a safety car to give him an even cheaper pit stop, but he's still got a pretty strong advantage here. Hashim in second place, still holding on. That is Nick Gishin who's gone around. Nick Gishin tags the wall coming out of turn 4. It's drama. He's pitting reverse quite significantly, trying to J-turn this one, I think, but he'll end up disqualified if he gets it wrong. And there is Nick Gishin then. He's managed to... No, he can't get control of the car. There's no grip. One of the tyres is completely unbalanced in terms of temperature. Across the gravel he goes again. That's not going to help him out at all either. And down to 8th goes Nick Gishin. So Smertz pits, perhaps seeing this error, seeing this problem from Nick Gishin. Smertz pits, half hoping for a safety car, but knows that... that Nick Gishin will be struggling at this stage. Medium tyres are going on at the end of lap 17 for our erstwhile leader. Meanwhile, our pole sitter, Hashim, is back on top at the front of the field. He is in 3 laps deep into his hard tyre, and he's got a good gap now. We don't need to focus on gap to leader. Now that the majority of the pit stops, I think almost all the pit stops, are complete for the race so far at least. Well, I imagine Super D might need to pit again, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll see what kind of life length he will get out of those. So medium tyres on Smertz, 12.5 seconds is his challenge here, with about 12.5 laps to run to try and catch Hashim on the different tyre compound. Gachiwi Levy finds himself in 3rd. Tremendous progress. So after all the pit stops have been completed, we can take a look at the position change. How about that for Gachiwi Levy, up 11 places, 0-2 up 10, which is almost as good, of course, but and Botta up 5, Midas up 5, but has had his ups and his downs so far. It is Nick Gishin and Shakes who've struggled most through the session. Got a yellow flag coming through. Is that Nick Gishin again? That was definitely a Haas going slowly. Have we had another error on the car? He still hasn't fixed that front wing, or he's cleared another one. Maybe he's cleared another one coming through turns 1 and 2, but it's not going well for Nick Gishin at the moment. It's definitely an M plate missing on the car. I think we might see an early retirement potentially from Nick Gishin. I don't imagine he's in any mood to have a go at the moment. But we do have a 3-way battle. Pampern is leading another 3-way battle. This time he's ahead of a sister Mercedes of Botta and the Red Bull of Avalac. Coming out of the final corner, the Mercedes has been loose on Midas's car coming out of turn 14 tonight, but no such problems for Botta. He's just been struggling to get through turn 11. He's also struggling through turn 2 as well. It's Midas picks up another penalty. That's big for the potential podium. Avalac having a little look on the inside, and Botta leaves him that little bit of room to launch one and make a potential mistake while still surviving. Smart driving there from Botta, giving the room on the track at the apex. Nonetheless, another yellow flag affects us. That's Nick Gishin again, and I mean not to laugh but it is just a nervous chuckle thinking about what he must be thinking in the cockpit at the moment. 12.5 seconds is the lead of Hashim on lap 18, and that has come down slightly, but nowhere near at the rate it needs to for Smerts, who might just be bringing those medium tyres in gently. Here comes Avalak round the outside as we see a retirement from Nick Gishen, another no score from one of our favourites to score highly in the session, but Avalak with the DRS got Botta easily on the way into turn 11. I know that they were on track together earlier as well, and sometimes drivers will listen to the stream, so I'm hesitant to list where drivers are a bit weak on the circuit, but clearly that has been a bit of a bête noire there for Botta tonight already. So your order is Hashim, Smerts, Getui Lebi, Midas, 0-2 in 5th. Followed by Pamper and Avalak, Botta, Chums and Stoffel, the top 10. 11th and 12th still scoring points at this current time, Super D and AP Mark, and outside of the points, Shakes, Royal Viking with retirements from Nick Gishen and Brad. I think Royal Viking might not be in the car. Let's have a look. I think, yeah, that is, he's been disconnected, unfortunately, so he is another retirement from us. And Shakes also appears to be currently ghosted. That might be, no, I think he is out of the car as well, unfortunately. So we have 12 runners who will all score points if they survive this race of attrition. We have 9 laps to go, including the one, plus the one that they are on right now. And Hashim has just ticked over to start lap 20. Arno joined the session, I remember, in qualifying in the formation lap and didn't manage to get in a car. So he exits from us. Maybe he was just watching. But I do try and discourage drivers from joining the lobby just to watch, because I tend to get disconnected as a result. We've done pretty well at the moment, touch wood. Hoping to see the race out there without any further disruptions. Hashim has lost 2 seconds to Smerts, who's now up to speed, and Smerts is ragging this Williams to try and get himself in the hunt here, put the pressure on and try and maybe force an error in Hashim. He'll be watching that gap dropping lap by lap if all goes to plan for Smerts. Django, little issue there perhaps for Stoffel, into the pits. Change of tyres, he's gone for the medium tyres with 9 laps to go. Couldn't eke another lap or 2 out to try the softs at the end. He's in 11th place right now. Super D and Chums both scoring for Aston Martin. Didn't look like that was on the cards after qualifying, did it? But they are in 9th and 10th currently. Botta is in 8th, falling back slightly. Have we got an issue there with tyre delta between them? We have not, no. Botta on 1 lap only, older tyres than Chums, same compound. And in terms of penalties, it's easy to remember. Everyone's on 3 seconds that has a flag by their name. So that means no challenge for 3rd, 4th and 5th. No potential challenge for 8th and 9th and 10th. Likewise, Stoffel and Shake. So really, they mean absolutely nothing at the moment, those penalties, so we can probably ignore them for the time being. Double yellow flag in Sector 2. That is the approach, it appears, for Turn 6. But I'm not seeing actually a problem on track there for anybody. Just a slow driver off track or a lapped car potentially. Being the problem. It was, I think, perhaps this lapped Alpha Tauri here. The ghosted drivers do not, unfortunately, get out of the way of the human drivers in the way that we ask the humans to do. 9.3 seconds now, the gap between Hashim and Smerts. Keep an eye on that gap for me if I stop paying it any attention. But that is dropping. And that is dropping quickly enough for a potential last few lap battle. But we do have a nice close one at the moment. This is Chums in 9th, chasing Botta in 8th. And he's trying to get himself tucked up. He's got plenty of margin to keep the DRS. And down we go into turn 11. Not quite sure why we beeped there. I tend to hear the beeps when the DRS closes. Or there's no real need to anyway. DRS automatically closes when the drivers press the brakes. They can manually override if they wish to. It tends not to be worth it. Chums 6/10 then behind Botta here in the battle for 8th position. And the gap at the front down to 8.8 seconds now with an additional penalty for 0-2. That means that Pampern, his teammate, will be within range of that 6-second cumulative penalties that 0-2 will accrue. So Pampern mean no difference to the Ferrari team. They'll still finish 5th and 6th as things stand, but it will mean that 0-2 loses points to his teammate Pampern after the end of tonight. It's up 22 of 29, so easy maths to do. 7 to go, plus the portion of the lap that they are still on, which is done and dusted now as the leader has crossed the start-finish line, and the gap opening slightly to 9.1 between Hashim and Smerts Django. Different strategies, of course, still one-stop strategies, as most drivers will be able to make work tonight. And it looks like Botta has actually run out of ERS as well. That's that red flashing light at the tail of the car, indicating to Chums that his rival in front is vulnerable to a potential attack. Let's have a look what is currently in the battery for Chums. That's 22%, and he knows that the car in front does not have as much. We can give the precise figure. It's 5%. So closes to within half a second then does Chums, but of course Botta half a second earlier on the power coming out of turn 2. That is going to mean that he will not be challenged into turn 3, and is just slowly catchy monkey for Chums as he bides his time and tries to force an error on the car in front. The gap still hovering just under 9 seconds now for Smerts Django to Hashim. Time is running out to launch an all-out attack here as Pampern closes on 0-2 for that 5th place for Ferrari. 5th and 6th for Ferrari, I should say. I think the only podium prediction I got was from Royal Viking of Brad, and that hasn't worked out. So no one really guessing this one. But for McLaren, this would be 2 from 2. If Hashim can seal this victory, they will really help the McLaren team. Oh, we've got a problem for an Alpha Tauri. Is that Gatuilebi? No, that is Botta having an error, and that is coming through turn 12 this time, taking the front wing off. That is a full course yellow. That is a safety car called, as Botta has stripped the front wing, broken the front wheel as well. Let's see what kind of a state the car looks. Yeah, it's leaning to the right, so just one wheel off his car. Will we see any pit stops? Super D does decide to come in. Chums as well in front of him. Feel like they've got 3 pit stops to have a play with as well. But the majority of the front runners went through the start-finish line, so a sting in the tail for our Australian Grand Prix. I was about to start talking up Hashim's chances of victory here tonight. The laps will drop down, but that means Smerts will restart on better tyres unless Hashim decides to pit at this point. Stoffel's gone in as well, and the field will of course condense as the marshals dispatch with Bottas stricken. Mercedes, that means Mercedes now can only score, and it's Hashim who's gone for soft tyres. What does Smerts do? Smerts goes through, so Smerts on the mediums has elected to give up the tyre advantage but hold on to track position, and he'll be hoping for more pit stops behind. Gatuilebi has pitted, presumably for soft tyres too, so he'll be hoping that Hashim has mirrors full of Gatui and Midas instead of hungrily going for a move. Smerts then the driver not to pit, and Pampern picks up a penalty. Heartbreak for Ferrari as a drive-through penalty is taken, and he can't take that during the safety car. It must be the first lap after the safety car has been finished with and gone into the pits. So it is all change in terms of tyres, all change in terms of strategy. Smerts is ahead now of Hashim on a different tyre strategy. Then we have Gatuilebi in 3rd place, still to catch the tail of the group. In fact, it looks like Hashim has got a Red Bull stuck between himself and the leader, so that's not good news for him either. That's a hold-up potentially. We'll see if the Red Bull decides to get out of the way or will be instructed to pass the safety car. A bit of a lottery, that one. And then Gachui-Lebi and It's Midas on the soft tyre. Pampern stuck on the mediums, but he's going to go through and lose all those places. So for Ferrari, it was going to be a double strong points finish. Now no longer. It looks like Hashim running a bit low on fuel as well, so he's going to need to just be careful under the safety car. Should gain that back helpfully, but the drivers all in, all marked as red on the petrol, on the fuel, so I think it should be fairly even between the drivers, as Pampern of course will have to peel off into the pit lane and serve that drive-through penalty. Speeding under the pit lane is it's not worth pushing the margins on that one. Telemetry wise, everyone will be on 100% battery. When we do get back underway, there are 4 laps remaining of this Grand Prix, and should be quite the finish to this one. Look forward to what the drivers can achieve. One driver in the pits there. Who's that? It's Stoffel pitting, so he's got out of the way in this battle for first and second. That's welcome news for Hashim. Another review then, shall we, of the positions changed. Up 11, Gachui-Lebi holding on to third place at the moment. I think penalties are equalised. Yeah, they are. So it's Midas and Gachui-Lebi. That'll be a straight fight between those two. Hashim and Smerts. Just Avalak, Hashim, Smerts, AP Marg without penalties on the car so far. Position change, let's complete that story. 0-2 up 9, make that 10 when his teammate pits for his, well, doesn't pit but goes through the pit lane for the drive-through penalty. Up 7 for Super D, impressive on a different strategy in terms of stops. 3-stop strategy for Super D, shakes. 5 stops for Stoffel so far, and then a regular 1 stop for the majority of the drivers who went on to plan A, but 2 stops predominantly the drivers who decided to go onto the softs here during this safety car period. Well, I'll welcome anyone to give their predictions for the podium now that we have a pause in proceedings. It is going to be at most a 3-lap sprint shootout for the final placings. Smerts, Hashim, Gachui-Lebi, Midas and 0-2 will all be within a shout here, I think, of victory. The majority of those drivers all on brand new soft tyres as well. Let's see what we can, how we can finish this one for you all. Unless this safety car breeds another safety car, it will come in at the end of this lap. We will get 3 racing laps for you to finish this Australian Grand Prix. Hashim has led the majority so far of the race, but this strategy hasn't worked out brilliantly for him. Smerts will be trying to get away here successfully, waiting, biding his time. Usually drivers will go on the apex of the final corner, but he waits because it's very low grip coming out. They're not allowed to battle quite like this and go side by side. That will be, it's a 5-second penalty for Gachui-Lebi on the way through here as he gives up the place, but it's all done and dusted. He can't do anything about it. Gachui-Lebi holds on to third, but a 5-second penalty, and that looked like a Ferrari. That was Pampern off the circuit before he's even served his drive-through penalty. Hashim on the outside of Smerts Django. Contact between the 2 cars. Hashim trying to sneak up the inside into turn 4. It's not going to happen, and there's contact between the 2 of them. Gachui-Lebi couldn't do anything about that one before the car ghosted of Hashim, and it is chaos at the finale, the final few laps here of the Australian Grand Prix in Division 2. Shocking activity going on at the restart lap. That was huge for Hashim, for McLaren, for Gachui-Lebi as well. Absolute disaster restart for Gachui-Lebi, but Smerts does have the track position advantage, but at the moment those soft tyres on the back of It's Midas, if It's Midas wins this one, it's going to be quite the most adventurous race on record. Tremendous stuff down the inside, tries the Aston Martin there of Super D on Avalak, who sweeps around the outside, not having any of it at all. Doesn't want to entertain that one as he tries to navigate the ghosted car in front. It's 0.4 of a second at the front of the field as Smerts Django will be holding off It's Midas, who waits and bides his time here. No DRS just yet, so Smerts Django just making sure he didn't get the the toe down the start-finish straight. I don't think he'll be within range here, but Smirch Django fades to the middle of the track, as he has every right to do there, just to discourage a late lunge. And we have got a head-to-head for the final finishing positions. Remember the penalties on the car: 3 seconds for Midas and 0-2, just to confirm that in case I got it wrong. Fastest lap currently with the Williams driver as well. 3 seconds for its Midas, 6 seconds for 0-2. So Midas has to make it happen now. And maybe Smirch decides that discretion is the better part of valor. He makes Midas go around the outside, and the approach to turn 9 is short. Braking zone here as the Williams gets that track position once again. And it's Midas picks up the fastest second sector in so doing, as they were running side by side on that fastest part of the circuit. Gachui Levy moves up against Super D, but I'm watching the front of this field as 0-2 is in for a shout of a penalty here, but of a podium, sorry. Avalak is well within range of stealing that after penalties. He could even end up second, Avalak, tonight, after being plumb last at one point after the end of the first lap. And it is Smirch Django leading us away 4.5 tenths from It's Midas as they start the final lap of the race. It's Midas, surely he can't get in front sufficiently to hold on to the win here, but can he stay ahead of Avalak in 4th place? That's his main concern at this point. Gachui Levy picks up another penalty, and it's that one's going to take some sorting out. I will call it as they cross the line, because frankly it's too much to watch with just me here. And it's Smirch Django holding on, using the middle of the road once again. Stoffel, another 3-second penalty, but Midas with a good run coming out of turn 7. They'll go through turn 8. Midas will be able to tuck right up under this diffuser of the Williams. Very, very rare to see the Williams at the front of the field, of course, as Smirch has spent all his ERS to survive this one. Midas will have DRS. He'll want to claim the victory on the road, and Smirch would do well to give it up. I don't think he wants to. He's using that middle of the road line again. He won't be able to change lanes once again, and he just about discourages a move here. And it's all eyes on the final 3 corners of the circuit, because the traction zone coming out of the final corner could be the end of these drivers' hopes. It is Smirch Django who enters the final corner first. Will it still be? Yes, it will. For Williams, Smirch Django will secure the victory. Tremendous drivers. 0-2 draws level with Midas over the line, and Avalak steals the podium and the second place off both of them. It's Smirch Django, Avalak and Midas, your finishing order. 0-2. Tremendous race with Hashim over there into 5th place, the pole sitter and erstwhile leader. Good recovery after that restart nightmare. Chums in 6th, Gachui Levy 7th. I didn't have time to read the rest of them, but what a finish we had for you there in the race. 7th place in the end for Gachui Levy, but the winner was our Smirch Django Williams driver. Super D got driver of the day, presumably for the most places gained from their start position. He was plumb last, started on soft tyres, and had overtaken half the cars in the first half a lap of this race. Tremendous stuff. Very, very enjoyable. I hope, against hope, that I can bring you the final standings, because I haven't had any standings all session, all evening long. Smirch Django, the winner for Williams, and his pace has been electric so far this season, and he'll be very pleased to pick up his first win. There is the winner's trophy then, held aloft. Champagne time for the Williams team. There we go. You've got a feel for McLaren and Hashim. They had a win last week with Uzi, but Hashim didn't quite survive the all 29 laps. If the race had been 27 laps, he would have won it. Smirch Django from 4th wins the race with a race time of 42.28. Fastest lap went to Super D in the end, who got a 1:27.20. Avalak in 2nd, be very pleased with that, I imagine. And it's Midas had a up and down race as well in P3. 0-2 up from 15th to finish 4th. Hashim, good points for the team, but he'll be disappointed, I'm sure, after the events of tonight. Chums in 6th, Gachui Levy 7th. Pampern, Gachui Levy had nowhere to go on that restart lap. The accident just happened in front of him. Pampern in 8th, Super D 9th and Stoffel 10th. Shakes and AP Mark finished the race, so we'll have points finishes for all those drivers, and sadly we lost for various reasons. Royal Viking, Botta, Nick Gishin and Brad, but tonight's glory very much goes to Smertz, Django and Avalak, who finished the race without penalty as well, and congratulations to them. Tremendous race for you. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you tune in to the channel same time tomorrow for Division 3. This has been Webbo, commentary by me, and you can follow my output if you so desire at WebboRed5 on most socials, and you can connect with me or see other times that I go live. But from me, Webbo, from everyone here in Division 2 for now, thank you for watching, and we will catch you on the next race day.